Hello and welcome and thank you for being here. I want to start off with a simple question. Raise your hand if you've taken a BuzzFeed quiz in the past.
That's right, you're all more.
Raise your hand if you've taken like the Hogwarts sorting hat quiz. We got Hufflepuffs in here, Ravenclaws, all that. And what about like random, what type of bread are you? Does anyone know what type of bread they are?
Sourdough.
Awesome. Sourdough bread? Me too, girl. And then lastly, how many of you have taken the 16 personalities Myers-Briggs test, the 4-letter? How many of you think you know what that is? On the basis of that, this is that science, but it's way deeper. MBTI, or Myers-Briggs, is based off of Jungian's typology analytical system. And we're here to explain we've created a system ourselves that we think is a lot more digestible, a lot easier to read, but we're here to give you like a roadmap into your own life, into your own brain, and maybe hoping that you can use it in your work and your personal life. Maybe just open the doors to what this theory is. Richie, would you like to elaborate?
So yeah, we got Mr. Carl Jung. He was a Swiss psychologist born in the 1800s. He did a lot of stuff that you probably read about in like Psych 101 and then forgot about because he sounds like a kook. But yeah, he did a lot of good work. He did a lot of stuff based around this kind of almost philosophical understanding of human beings and like what we are at our cores. He's the one who brought us the idea of the subconscious. He's the one who brought us the idea of the consciousness itself, that it is a thing. And he brought us the idea of like the collective unconscious, which is like common religious symbols that exist throughout humanity, stuff that is just innate to the human experience. He also developed a system for personality types, which is what we're going to be talking about. It's called the Jungian typology. And using various Jungian methods, including Jungian typology in therapy, we kind of get the results of this study, which I will hand off to Jaz.
Yes, so I found this really cool journal. It's in the National Library of Medicine, so it's pretty legit, guys. It's about 20 plus years of research in multiple countries. And they all came to the same conclusion, which was that a Jungian psychotherapy is influential. It proved to have lessened days in the hospital, lessened sick days off work, and like Carrie explained, just like physical health is important, mental health is just as important, especially in the workforce. We hear it all the time. This gives some evidence of why this specific kind of like this window into your personality not only can influence your understanding of yourself, but of others. It's changed a lot of people's symptoms, and it helped people adapt more to life experience and things that were thrown at them.
Well, she said it not only changes your symptoms, but it also changes the structure of your personality and life in a much deeper sense. This system, in particular for me and Jaz, it has kind of opened our minds to parts of ourselves that we might not otherwise have been comfortable looking at. It's going to show you the parts of yourself that you like, but it also shows you the other end of that sort. And with that, we will get into Your Brain Incorporated, which is the system that Jaz and I have kind of come up with to explain this monster of a beast of a psychological concept to you. So first of all, Your Brain Incorporated is a metaphor for your mind and your brain and your personality. Personalities and the way your mind works are one and the same. That's the same thing. And so you need a map to your mind to understand your personality. In this hypothetical, in this metaphor we've come up with, you are the owner of Your Brain Incorporated. And you have 8 potential employees that you are going to pick from. So if we're going back to our little BuzzFeed quiz, just look at them, sift them over in your brain, and then like keep them there. Just worry about that. You're going to be picking your bread types right now. Yeah, let's look at our employees. We're going to introduce our intuitive employees. This is the tactician. Their strengths are they're very good at being creative. They're very good at brainstorming. They're very good at finding new solutions to old problems. They really like to kind of think outside of the box. There's some drawbacks to that. They tend to be a little unfocused because they like their energy spread thin and broad and not direct. They tend to dilly-dally. They tend to procrastinate. They're just they're your scatterbrained employee.
And then next we have the second intuitive type, which is the strategist. It's the opposition to the tactician, where it's streamlined, it's tunnel vision, it's goal-oriented, it's insight and motivation. They're often a lot more anxious too, because they're like, oh, I have to do something by this deadline. But the dilly-daller is like, it's fine, I'll figure it out. It'll be, whatever happens, happens. They're two sides of a coin because they help each other by filling in the spaces that each other don't. But yeah, weaknesses, anxiety and tunnel vision. Famous examples, Jesus Christ, Carl Jung, Kendrick Lamar. So, yeah, people who are motivational but can also be very streamlined, find the purposes in life, etc.
Next up, we have our sensory employees. This is the champion, so extroverted sensing. Their strengths are they're very action-oriented, they're very results-oriented, they want things to be done in the here and now, they want to get their shit done as soon as possible. They want it all right now. Of course, that comes with a drawback. They tend to be a little impatient. They want it here right now. And they also tend to run a little hot. You get a lot of outbursts, you get a lot of, momentary lapses in judgment, stuff like that, but they are very good at getting you the results that you need.
And then we have our second sensing employee, which is the bookkeeper, the opposition of extroverted sensing. Their strengths are patience and detail, consistency, comfort, staying in their comfort zone. But another drawback of that is maybe staying too much in their comfort zone, maybe a little bit too rigid. Definitely want to keep things safe, but the champion and the bookkeeper need each other, if that makes sense. They are two sides of the same coin once again.
Now we're looking at our feeling employees. This is the host, the extroverted feeler. They're very good with empathy, they're very good at building community, they're very good at maintaining harmony within a community. They want everyone to be happy, and that also means they want everyone to like them. And that can be a drawback, because if you want everyone to like you, then you can kind of martyr yourself for those other people and let your own needs fall to the wayside. And you can be a little naive about people's intentions. You can want to see the best in people, even if you shouldn't all the time. You got a few notable names up there, Oprah Winfrey, Chris Evans, Sofia Vergara.
And then our second feeling employee is the dreamer, the internal, moral, ethical side of the coin, where they're primarily known to be a little bit more sensitive, but that's good. They know how they feel, they know how things make them feel, but weaknesses can be idealism and might have a guilty conscience even when they shouldn't. They're very concerned about what's good and what's bad, if they're being a good person or a bad person. And they also are really good at taking direction. They usually like having someone who tells them what to do because it kind of gives them the guidance that they need. Oh, and I missed the people. Kurt Cobain, Princess Diana, Billie Eilish, a lot of sad but sensitive people.
Alrighty, and then we have our thinking employees. This is the rationalist, the extroverted thinker. Our rationalists are very systematic. They really like to have their empirical numbers. They really like to be decisive. They really like all of this concrete evidence that they can look at and spreadsheet and scan. They do come with, the weakness of being a little bit inflexible and a little bit insensitive, just because they want it in cold hard data and not soft squishy emotions, so they don't work too well right there. You get some people like Steve Jobs, Julius Caesars, Gordon Ramsay.
And then our last employee of the 8 is the logician, the internal thinking and truth. This employee, they're very good at analytical thinking. They would rather figure something out on their own to believe the truth before someone telling them. Usually when someone tells them something, they're like, I don't know, let me figure it out first. They also have weaknesses in being stubborn and cynical. They might have an issue believing someone else's truth because their truth is so solid in their brain.
We've got our employees, we got all these moving parts, but we need to know how to put them into your brain incorporated. Hopefully you've kind of looked at all of them, mold them over a little bit in your brain, and we're going to learn what kind of structure we need these employees to fit in so we can get a real map of our brains. So you've got 4 positions, and those positions are the CEO, the executive, the shareholder, and the intern. And these are all symbolic positions that you're going to be putting your symbolic employees into. You can have one of each of the categories: a thinker, an intuitive, a feeler, and a sensor. So just keep that in the back of your brain. And let's go through each of our positions to see where you might want to put your employees.
Number 1, we have the CEO. They are the face of the company. They are the autopilot of your brain. This is something you do all the time without even thinking. It's just how you work. The CEO touches everything, touches every thought that comes in the brain company. It's like, oh, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. It's usually the most healthy position because it's at the forefront. It calls all the shots. You don't really need much explanation because this is the one that when you looked at those characters, you're like, oh, that's me.
In our second spot, we have the executive, the second in command, the right hook to the left hook. I don't know. So the executive is a very strong employee, but they don't need everything to pass through them. They're the one doing a lot of the heavy lifting and a lot of the heavy work. This employee is going to be doing a lot of the work that you're the most proud of. They're going to be doing a lot of the stuff that you, as a person, are like the most comfortable showing other people. We'll show you some examples of that later, but that's your executive.
And then third is your little baby shareholder who you have to cater and ask everything for. This needs a lot of catering to. They're also the most sensitive part of yourself, where in the 4 positions, it's not the very low, but it's like right over the low where you know you're doing good at it, but you might be a little insecure if someone is like, what is your shareholders doing? That's crazy. Learning to keep your shareholder happy and healthy is important because they are still a very important part of your brain incorporated. They might just complain about it the most in your brain.
In our final position, we have the intern. Your intern is kind of awkward. They're kind of weird. They're there, but if you only see them like sometimes, like they're getting coffee, but they're spilling it, or they went to Dunkin' instead of Starbucks, whatever. But basically, your intern has a lot of potential. And when you see it on a normal day-to-day basis, they tend to either be doing really good or really bad. You kind of want to nurse the potential of your intern if you want to kind of fully potentialize yourself. So we've got our positions, we've got our employees, and that determines your company structure. Your company structure gives you your type, and these are the types that you've probably heard of from 16 personalities. That's like your typical, like your ENTPs or your ISFPs or whatever. By putting a unique employee into each of your positions, you get your unique type, and that can be hard to determine, but don't worry, we're going to give you some shorthands. Just some quick examples, just to show exactly how this works.
This is my type, guys. This is my brain, if you want to look into it. Essentially, my CEO starts with NI, which is the streamline, the goals, the marking things off of tasks list. And then my executive, who's doing all the legwork and usually shows its face, is the host who's like, oh my gosh, let's get some cookies for everybody. That's the one that's showing its face. My little baby shareholder is my logic. I'm really insecure about how I think, guys. So essentially the little baby TI is like, am I being stupid? Am I thinking of this wrong? Usually, like I said, it needs its day in court, but it's usually right. It's just a little more insecure than the other ones. And then my intern is the champion, where my intern is spilling every coffee, is like yelling really loud, and is like, why do we need to fire him? He really sucks. It's the boom, pow, wow, but sometimes it's really effective, sometimes it's really not effective, but I have to cater to my little intern who's really loud, so. And then we have Richie.
This is Richie. This is my type, the lawyer. I came up with these names last night, so I'm not a real lawyer. But my CEO is the tactician, which, if you made the connection, is the opposite of Jaz's CEO. So we kind of like to fill in each other's inadequacies in that way. I'm pretty scatterbrained. I like to go on my tangents. I like to come up with creative ideas, and I like to have a lot of fun. I wish I could stop, but I don't. And then my executive, the one doing my heavy lifting, is my logic. I like to sit up here, and I like to explain things to a lot of people. I like to be a mansplainer. It's not because I'm a dude, it's just because of that guy right there. It's his fault. And then my sensitivity, my shareholder, is the host. I get very insensitive that I'm not being nice enough to people. I get insensitive that maybe my little logic man is lifting too much and being too cynical, and maybe I need to tone it down. And I will cry about that sometimes because I will come home from a social interaction and say, I was really mean. I need to stop doing that. And then my intern, finally, is my bookkeeper. This is the one that forces me to settle down at the end of the night, to be patient. It makes me sometimes very patient and very nice, and sometimes it makes me very lazy and never do anything. And now we are going to do a little guest participation. Would Jen Quater from the audience please stand up? Woo! What we're gonna have Jen do is we're going to attempt to type her right here, right now. It's, no holds barred. So we got our big list. Who would you guys say is Jen's CEO?
The creative one, the tactician.
Do we have definitions for them? Is there
No.
a way to go back?
We could go back and look at them.
What's what?
Just based off vibes.
Okay, gotcha. Just the vibes.
Spitball anything at all.
Host or
I would say champion. Champion.
Oh, champion, that's what I meant, sorry.
Champion is
Is
I
awesome.
got some good guesses.
host.
It's the cookies.
It's the one with the cookies.
Yes.
And the hearts.
Yeah, and the hearts. It's the pink one. We have Jen CEO as host. It is the extroverted, the empathy. It's her main focus is making sure that everyone is happy. Who do you guys think her executive would be? Who do you think does the most heavy lifting? Who do you guys see the most?
Maybe it'll.
I know, it makes it hard.
Maybe think
She has a
about.
lot of dreamer in her.
Yeah, and I can tell you what I'm not. You might want to say what I'm not, because I'm clear on what I'm not.
I think I heard Sophia say the right one, but we'll continue.
I was going to say strategist.
That is my second, I think. Yes.
That's the legwork. They be
Yes.
doing the goals and getting stuff done. Once you've picked the first two, they have to be paired with their axis. So the host is the CEO, then the logician is her intern, is the brains and everything is in her intern. But then since the strategist is her executive, her shareholder is champion.
I can speak to it for a minute.
Yes, I would love
if
for
that's
that.
all right.
Yes.
I think that because what we talked about was like you said feeling, and I think that what I lead with always is feeling. I am 100% a feeling person. Anybody who knows me, I'm going to ask, what do you feel about that instead of what do you think about that? And so I'm always leading with feeling, but then I'm very strong on that strategy part, and I'm definitely driven by that anxiety. Like I'm definitely like we have to like do it there. Then I'm interested in this shareholder one because you said that's the boom pow, and see, like I feel like I have a lot of boom pow, but I also think you said they were like hot and impatient, and I think that's where I get. And you guys, some of you who've worked with me longer know, like when I'm in like a crazy place and I'm like, okay, we got to get this done, we got to do it right now, we got to like that's something that I'll feel insecure about. So if and I tell people a lot, like if I get afraid, sometimes I'm like irrationally afraid. You know what I mean? Like like we're gonna lose all our money. You know, like we're not. You know, but that I think ties to that shareholder. The other thing I've noticed, because I think that the logician is what is needed when I do things that I don't like to do. Like Chris asked if we liked math, and like I don't like locking myself in the room and looking at the Excel sheets at every single piece. I don't like it, but I can do it, and so. I'm able to, my intern does better when I make myself slow down. When I make myself sit and do that, then I can do that.
That's a great example, yes. Because, yes, she can do it, but I like to call it with Jen specifically too, like her tinkerer. She needs to step into this place when she does do the logic stuff, because she's really good at it, but she has to not think about anything else, just the tinkering part. Thank you so much for coming up here. So yeah, those were some examples in your guys' lives because you know us. I just kind of want to explain this tool as a whole and its benefits. I just want to give you like the value of it and how you can use it. By the way, I emailed the whole team this PowerPoint, but like bigger. It was before we cut everything out because it's super long. But so it gives you kind of a key to figure out who you are, but I personally would tell you to, like we did with Jen, figure out who you know who your CEO is usually. That's just your autopilot. And then if you know that, then you usually will know your executive. But then also, when you find those, you might not like what they are paired with. You have to look at the key, because what you're insecure about is tied to those first two. But exploring every part of your brain is a whole part of this psychotherapy. It's the understanding of yourself, but then also of the people around you.
It is a great tool for like being able to type someone and type yourself and look at yourself and knowing how you should grow and looking at someone else and being able to kind of predict a little bit how they would act. And it's really nice when you're having like, one-on-one conversations with someone and you both know, because you say, oh, well, you're feeling insecure about this thing because I said this thing and that made your shareholder feel really bad. Or you said this thing and that made my intern feel really bad. It's just a really great tool for knowing yourself, knowing others, and being able to kind of use a language to pinpoint your own thoughts and emotions and desires.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the time, and I hope you guys check it out. So, yes.